The Seahawks are victors this week as they absolutely blow out the New York Jets 40-3. The first time in what feels like a very long time the Seahawks had more of a normal game. An easy win in which they bench most of the starters before the fourth quarter actually gets underway. Seattle had zero trouble with the worst team in the NFL. They allowed just 3 points. This, I think, by far was the best defensive performance Seattle's put together all year. Now, of course, that's supposed to be the case, right? The Jets are terrible. Sam Darnold's not very good. Adam Gase is a disaster. They were down most of their good offensive players to begin with there. This should have been a get-right game for Seattle, but what matters is that it was. The defense stood strong. 185 yards allowed, 3 total points. The Jets had nothing going on offense. Meanwhile, on offense for Seattle, things went pretty darn well. 40 points were scored in this one. They were effective on 3rd and 4th downs. And if Seattle really wanted to, they could have easily dropped 50, but they were like, this game's over. We'll take it easy in the fourth quarter and let everyone go home early. So give me your one-word reaction to the Seahawks win over the Jets. My one word, easy? Is that too mean against the Jets? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. And coming up next, rumors and news coming out of this win by Seattle. We're going to begin with an injury update on Brandon Shell. This one not exactly a good sign for Seattle. He got the start at right tackle today, but then left the game with an ankle injury. Remember, he had missed the team's past 2 games with an ankle problem. As we sit here filming this post-game, the severity is not yet known. If we do find out, we'll let you guys know here, so make sure you're subscribed. But the injuries keep piling up on the offensive line. I'll make note, as I'm sure many of you know, Jamarco Jones, Phil Haynes, and Cedric Ogbuehi were all scratches in this one due to injuries here. So Shell, because he missed that, or because he left that game, that's fairly troubling. It only allowed 3 sacks entering this matchup, but that's a problem for Seattle. If Shell misses more time, we know the right side of that line isn't as good without him, mostly because the other options like Chad Wheeler, who was called from the practice squad again, not the best option out there. So hopefully he's okay for what matters once we get going into playoff time. And speaking of playoff time, here's where things sit in the NFC playoff picture. Of course, what matters for you Seahawks fans, that 5, and I guess technically 6 and 7 as well, and that 3 spot as well. Seattle does not have a tiebreaker right now over the LA Rams, but Seattle did in the end take care of business, win that game and against the Jets, and set themselves up potentially for a Week 16 basically winner-take-all matchup in the NFC West. As of right now, it is the Rams and the Seahawks. The Cardinals, technically speaking, are still alive in the NFC West, but because the Rams and Seahawks play each other, it's just not very likely that that team will be able to win. The Niners are out. They cannot win the division now. So it comes down to Rams, Seahawks. And Seattle, they can't get caught looking ahead. Obviously, this Week 16 game is the one that really matters. You win that game, you might just win the division. But if you blow it against a suddenly hot Washington football team, well, you're in a rough spot there. So I like where Seattle is at. This Washington game no longer looks as easy as it did even just a couple of weeks ago. But I think Seattle is in a really good chance to set themselves up to win the division. They control their own destiny. So get your votes in here. Will the Seahawks win the NFC West? Type Y for yes, they will, N for you're being a hater, and no, they won't. I'm going to type in my Y for yes, but if you guys get that ad break here on YouTube, I want you to scroll on down and get your votes in. Let's talk Jamal Adams now. It was his revenge game, and the stat line looks pretty decent. 5 tackles, a tackle for loss, a sack, the pass breakup, and we'll say 3/4 of action here. It could have been more, though, for Jamal Adams. That pass breakup, I mean, hit him right in the hands. Like, that should have been an interception for Jamal Adams. Maybe he does something wild after the play, too. Overall, I think Adams is happy. He blew out his old team, 40-3, had another sack again, which, by the way, that sack for Jamal Adams gives him the NFL record for most sacks by a defensive back. And he did in like 9 games because he missed time this year. He hasn't been the most impactful guy in coverage, but he's been awesome blitzing the quarterback, and that matters for Seattle. Hopefully you guys bet on Seattle to cover because that one was easy. Producer Brett, he's not feeling too great about that one right there. Head over to chatsports.com/bet. Use the promo code that you see on screen. Seahawks 125. Producer Brett now telling me he didn't bet on them. That's my bad there. Chatsports.com/bet. Use that promo code Seahawks 125. It'll get you a 125% deposit bonus. Let's talk quarterback now. Rusell Wilson. That's a little bit more like it. Again, this is about 3/4 of action. Could have been a lot more for Russ, especially from the yardage perspective. 21 of 27, 206, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception, and I think perhaps most importantly is actually 0 sacks. And remember last week with Rusell Wilson just not looking right in the pocket, taking way too many mistakes, all of that, holding the ball too long, not an issue against an admittedly very bad New York Jets, defense. In the end, it's what Seattle needed. This was a get-right game for this offense, and that's exactly what they got out of Rusell Wilson. His favorite target, once again, it's DK Metcalf. 8 targets, 61 yards, a great over-the-shoulder kind of fade touchdown catch from Wilson. Shout out to Wilson, by the way, because, DK led the way. Will Dissly, Freddie Swain, and David Moore all had touchdown catches in this one. It was very much a spreading of the wealth by quarterback Rusell Wilson. I thought he had a very solid performance. I do wonder, though, if he ends up getting the game ball. But get your votes in here. Let's say you're Pete Carroll. Who are you giving the game ball to after this one? Get your votes in the comments section. Game ball doesn't always go to best player. So I'm giving it to maybe a share between all of those former Jets players, Brandon Shell, Jamal Adams, even Jason Myers, maybe Adams in particular. Let me know what you guys think in the comments section. Coming back to an injury note that I did want to hit here, Carlos Dunlap did not play against the Jets. He's dealing with that foot sprain right now. This game struck me as it's the Jets. We don't need Carlos Dunlap out there. If we can't win without him, we got bigger problems. Let's give him an extra week to try and get that foot right. He had kind of been on a rotation. He had been more of a third down situational guy the past couple weeks with that foot injury. Hopefully this extra week of rehab for Dunlap gets him right for when you really need him, the final 3 games of the season, and of course the playoff push, which Seattle is this close to clinching as we sit right now. So how worried are you, though, about Carlos Dunlap? Get your ratings in here. Scale of 1 to 10, 1 being not at all. In fact, you think I'm being crazy for even bringing it up. A 10 being kind of freaking out altogether, and you're super concerned that he's out for the year. He's not, of course. Get your votes in, 1 to 10. The running game also reemerged, I'll say, in this one. In total, 36 carries for 174 yards because Penny Hart got a touch, and David Moore and Geno Smith ran it two times. And then DJ Dallas got some touches late. Chris Carson, though, 15 touches, the same number as touches for Carlos Hyde. But guess what? Chris Carson was better because Chris Carson is a better player than Carlos Hyde. I like what he had in this one. A good showing out of Chris Carson. Very much a get-right game for the Seahawks. That's exactly what they want. As a reminder, folks, we're going to keep you covered on everything going on around Seattle for the rest of the season and in the offseason as well. So if you want consistent updates, hit that big red button and subscribe today.